Things just took a shocking turn for the New York Jets in regards to this trade deadline, as we have a new report to go over with multiple star players on the Jets who have been linked to many different trades, and now things have taken another turn, and we are going to go over all that, guys. There's a lot to discuss with the Jets, including a new report surrounding the most talked about trade asset on the New York Jets that we're going to talk about later on in the video, so you want to make sure to stay tuned. But let's jump right into it, guys. There's a lot to discuss on the Jets. If you're part of that 68% that's not subscribed, though, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single New York Jets update. With the trade season being fully in season, you don't want to miss out on any New York Jets updates. But let's jump right into the video, guys. There is a lot to talk about on this team because, look, Darren Mougey didn't draft or add everybody on this team, and when that happens and you're a rebuilding team, you often see a lot of those guys end up getting traded or just having them be let walk at the end of their contracts. With that, there has been a lot of discussion surrounding multiple different New York Jets players, specifically guys who have starred in years with the Jets that, looked like future building blocks of this team. But now with Mougey here, with Joe Douglas gone, there has been some thought that things will change with that. And two of these guys, in Jermaine Johnson and Breece Hall, have both been mentioned as trade options. Johnson, more recently been discussed as a trade option, being a super good athlete who's now back from injury and has been performing quite well. And Breece Hall, who's been with the Jets for all 4 years now, playing very good football for those 4 years. But there is some thought that Hall will eventually be traded because of his expiring contract, and the fact that the Jets would very likely be okay going forwards with Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis as their two running backs of the future. A lot to discuss, guys, with this, and jumping into a lot of these details. It was mentioned in regards to Jermaine Johnson from Brad Gagnon that why this Jermaine Johnson trade could happen is with more of an eye for Will McDonald among their edges on rookie deals. The Jets could decide to escape Johnson's contract before an expensive fifth-year option kicks in for 2026. Meanwhile, the Cowboys are looking to fill that void left by Micah Parsons. Why it's bold is the Cowboys, who are being rumored to be the suitor for Jermaine Johnson here, couldn't lock Parsons in on a long-term deal, and it would be immediately placed in a similar situation with Johnson, who missed much of last season with injury and will cost $13.4 million in 2026, according to Spotrac. The prediction is that Johnson costs the Cowboys a day 2 pick and delivers on occasion for a team that should be in the playoff hunt. Now, with that all being said, this was a prediction made by Bleacher Report that the Jets do end up trading Jermaine Johnson to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys have very, very little in regards to edge rushers right now. When you look at the team, obviously without Micah Parsons, things are just not the same. They're clearly not. They don't have the edge rushing. They've been rumored for Trey Hendrickson as well, but right now it feels like the Colts are on top of that deal. But on top of that, there's just a whole lot to discuss with the Jets, with Jermaine Johnson, because he's such a talented player, and he's someone who the Jets would love to keep around, who are at least Jets fans would absolutely love to keep around. We look at his stats. The man is a Pro Bowler. Hit the Pro Bowl in his second season in the NFL. Has played 5 games this year, battling a couple injuries. Did have a pass defended as well, which was great to see. The man has been a super, super talented linebacker for this team, an edge rusher overall, who has on occasion dropped back into pass coverage. Now, this season, he has struggled with some injuries, holding him to only 1 sack on the year, but he's still playing good football, and teams understand that Jermaine Johnson, when he's healthy, is a very good piece to have, especially being a younger guy. The best is still yet to come with Jermaine. So he's one of those guys that it would fit really well on any team that's looking for just a trade asset, but at the same time, the Jets have to be willing to trade him, and there's a world where the Jets ultimately decide they're not willing to trade Jermaine Johnson. They really like what Johnson brings to the table. They really like what Johnson's going to be doing going forwards, and with all that in mind, it does make sense for the Jets ultimately to even try to keep Jermaine Johnson just so they could sort of decide what exactly is next for him. Now, we have an update regarding Johnson specifically from ESPN that did, with Jeremy Fowler mentioning that the Jets are the most interesting team at the trade deadline because they have players who they can move, and they didn't expect to be 1-7. This roster isn't barren like the Titans. Talent exists on both sides of the ball, and because of that, the Jets have hoped for a better start. The players have bought into Aaron Glenn, so it is hard to just break up that solely because of the record, and teams Fowler has talked to seem to be willing to part with edge Jermaine Johnson in return for a strong pick. Johnson recently had a productive talk with Glenn, and it does feel like Jermaine Johnson is staying. So things definitely took a turn in recent talks regarding Jermaine Johnson because of his positive talk with Aaron Glenn. Now, fans, if you ask them, and comment down below if you disagree, but the fans seem to want Jermaine Johnson to stick around, and I'm one of them. I loved that pick of Jermaine Johnson. I loved when they traded up into the draft. I remember that draft very fondly in 2021. I remember it's a Friday night. Was it a Friday? Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it was a Thursday. I was in college. I was in my junior year of college. Me and Matt were watching the draft together. It was a very good time. We were cracking a lot of jokes. I was getting the Adam Schefter alerts, so I was messing with Matt. Like right before the pick would be announced, I would just say it to him to just, piss him off, as you do to your college roommates who are one of your best friends on the planet. But when it comes down to it, it is very funny. Just like to look back now and see how positive things were, and now it's like, well, we're 1-7. We are extending all these guys. Still haven't made the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers came and left. What are we looking at now? But with Jermaine Johnson, I do want to see him stick around. He loves being a Jet, and he fits really well with the Jets. So I do think that he's the type of guy that you do want to build around. But on top of that, another guy who has been looked at as a building block has been Breece Hall. But there is the prediction that the Jets ultimately would be trading Breece Hall away to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Hall is a very, very talented player. Finally has some touchdowns on the season. He's had a good year, though, regardless. He just wasn't getting into the end zone. But he rushed 117 times this year for 581 yards, had 5 yards per attempt, which was very, very good. He also does now have 2 touchdowns, and he also has a passing touchdown as well because, Breece Hall is just the man. We know Breece Hall is the man, and this was talked about just in regards to everything. As Brad Gagnon did say that why this could happen is that Hall is a pending free agent, and the Jets probably have bigger fish to fry this offseason. While the Chiefs are not getting as much as they'd probably like out of their offensive backfield, that's the thing. Here's why it's bold. The simple fact that Hall, who's 24 years old, is the league's 5th leading rusher, does make things very interesting. And the prediction is that Hall yields the Jets a late-round pick and becomes a cog in the backfield that also contains Isaac Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, who takes a sizable back seat. Now, here's the thing. I don't want to trade Breece Hall unless it's for a good pick. We did see that FanDuel proposed an idea where the Jets do trade Breece Hall, but they trade Breece Hall not for much, man. They trade him for a 3rd and a 5th, and it's a Chiefs 3rd and a 5th, so it's going to be late picks anyway. At that rate, I'd rather just pay Breece Hall the $10 million per year to stick around as a Jet. That makes way more sense to me. I would way prefer the Jets to go out there and do that over going out and not paying Breece Hall at all. Like, to me, it just makes perfect sense for the Jets to stick around and to keep Breece Hall right now instead of trying to trade him for something, for anything. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't really see the point of going out there and moving a guy who's got the 5th most rush yards in the league right now. I don't like the idea of this at all anymore. I used to be more into it. Then, as Dan Graziano mentioned, there's teams also talking about Quinnen Williams, but the Jets are not entertaining deals for him unless it's a massive every player is a price type of trade package. So rival teams know the Jets are open to potentially being active over the next week, but aren't yet beholden to that plan. Williams, Hall, and others should garner plenty of trade interest, though. The question is, can the Jets run up any sort of a bidding war for Breece Hall? If they can, and you can get a valuable pick, a day 2 pick for Breece Hall, I guess a 3rd's a day 2 pick, but from the Chiefs. That's the thing. You're not getting a good day 2 pick. It's the only team that's going to trade for Breece Hall is good. It makes it tough, man. Like, at this rate, keeping Breece just starts to make more sense. You don't have to pay Michael Carter anymore. It kind of makes sense to just keep Breece Hall at this point. Things have really changed fast here. Now, Isaac Pacheco is an interesting piece because he's out for a little bit with an injury, and he has had 78 rush attempts for 329 yards. He's not the player that Breece Hall is. The Chiefs are trying to win another Super Bowl, and with that, they could get a huge upgrade at their running back position with Breece. The question is, how willing are the Jets going to be to really move on from a guy who's still young and also does have a really big impact with the team? Now, we also saw a while ago the Cali Jets mentioned from Connor Hughes' sources that these are the trade values that teams are willing to pay the Jets for their players. Quinnen Williams would garner a 2nd-round pick, which the Jets would not do. Jermaine Johnson, a 3rd-round pick, which I think is 50-50 for the Jets. Will McDonald, a 3rd-round pick. The Jets would never trade him for that. Breece Hall, a 5th. I don't see the Jets trading Breece for that. And then Michael Carter, who obviously did get traded for a day 3 pick. And then Quincy Williams, who would probably, if he is to get traded, would get traded for a day 3 pick as well. The Jets also are making outgoing calls regarding Jermaine Johnson, so that's part of this as well. But ultimately, I honestly don't think the Jets are going to trade Breece Hall anymore. I think things have made a huge change. What do you think is going to happen? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. I know I'm talking a lot about Breece Hall and Jermaine Johnson recently, but at the end of the day, it's trade season, man. This is what happens. We got a whole lot more videos of a whole lot different type of context coming out every single day as well, so you want to make sure to be subscribed, and let's have a good rest of the season. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Go Jets.